You told me, last time you were here about 3 weeks ago, you told me you guys were still meeting via Zoom, correct?
Correct.
Where in your budget is the Zoom subscription here?
The Zoom subscription is under the general expenses, $111.51. So I believe that's the Zoom.
That's the Zoom thing. And now, why are you still meeting via Zoom?
Well,
While most of our commissions and boards and this body itself, we're meeting in person now. I think you and the Conservation Commission are the only, for some reason, the
I believe the
organizations.
CPC is also
Yeah, the
meeting
CPC, you're right. I did talk to
on Zoom.
Mr. Barrett yesterday about it.
And the reason is well, there are a number of reasons. I think we mentioned this last time. That first of all, that room in the basement where we meet is very closed, and so it's not well ventilated, and it has a much higher potential for transmittal of, come on, you know of what?
COVID, you mean?
COVID,
Oh,
yes.
COVID. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure what you were referring to, because you guys met there before COVID happened, correct?
Yes, we met there before
Okay.
COVID.
Are you looking for a new place to meet?
However, let me say that there are advantages to meeting on Zoom, especially for a commission like the Historical Commission. There's documentation which the members need to see and the public needs to see, and it's much easier to see that on Zoom when you're sharing documents on Zoom than it is before. People would come into the room and a developer would put some kind of board up at the front of the room and people couldn't see. In fact, it's impossible to have it angled so both the commission can see it and the public can see it, whereas this way, everybody can see the documentation. So there are some advantages to working on Zoom.
Now, going back to your statement about the room not being ventilated enough, therefore there's a higher level of people getting COVID. Are you looking into a different room so you can start meeting in person moving forward?
Well, the auditorium in Government Center on Monday nights, and unfortunately we meet on Monday nights, is opposite the commission, so we can't meet in here. Opposite the council, so we can't meet in here. And Monday nights, so the Waltham Philharmonic rehearses in the auditorium. So I don't think you want us kicking out the Philharmonic. So that's a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, I did look into that and as a possibility, but unfortunately we can't do that.
So there's no way you're going to go back in person because of the room then?
Well,
is that what you're telling me?
Not at this point. I mean, if something could be done about that room, then fine. But I mean, that room is it's very hot, and otherwise we'll have to have the windows all open in the middle of winter, just letting all that energy out. So
okay. Well, in that case, I will talk to the mayor, because I think I need this commission to meet in person. I think everyone should be meeting in person. The reason being, and I'll tell you why. When we meet in person, I'm in a line of business in which body language says a lot when you speak to a board, and the respect that you pay to the board when you're in front of them. It's the same way how you are addressed in front of us today, because you're meeting in front of the Finance Committee. I think that says a lot about the petitioner or the person presenting in front of you. And body language says a lot about how you are presenting your case, rather than being in a video call or on a phone with no video whatsoever. So I talked to the Conservation Commission, and I talked to Mr. Barrett last Thursday about it. I think it's important to start meeting in person for all boards, even the health department, even the biosafety committee from the health department. They're meeting in person now. So I'll definitely want you to share this with the members of your commission. There's seven of you, that I think you got to start looking at options to start meeting in person. We want to make sure the petitions are there in person. I want to make sure everyone's there. Again, we need to start moving in that direction. I think we already passed the Zoom stage of our life, in my opinion, unless it's really, really sort of circumstances that you need to. Worst case scenario, at least go hybrid. I think that's very important. And, feel free to, whatever room we end up meeting at, whether it's this room, whether it's the auditorium, or whether it's the old room. I mean, no one's telling you not to wear a mask. No one has ever said that. But I believe, let me just finish.
Okay.
But I believe that I think moving forward, whether it's your commission, Conservation Commission, CPA, We need to start meeting in person. And I'm not really concerned about $111.51 in your budget for that. That's minuscule. But I think having the way we are servants of the people, and people know that this is what we need to do in front of bodies in which you present yourself and present your case, the same way how you go in front of a judge and you do the same thing. And I think that says a lot about the way we work as a society, and I think people need to start meeting in person again. I think we're past that stage. So I want to have a conversation with the mayor, trying to find you guys a place so you can hopefully meet in person again. I think that'll be very important.
The one thing I wanted to mention, and thank you for, I'll certainly mention it to the commission, but the problem with hybrid meetings is the technology. That right now, to my knowledge, there's no internet access in that meeting room. And so we couldn't do hybrid in that meeting room.
Understood. Understood.
So if you're talking to the mayor about the room, you might want to mention
I'm talking about
as well as the environmental conditions.
I want to talk to her about a room that would allow you to meet in person. If the room is the problem now, then we're going to have to get you out of there so you can meet in person again. Again, my main thing is to make sure that everyone is meeting in person. That's my main goal here. And as I said earlier, I've talked to the members of the CPA, and I've talked to the Conservation Commission about it, and I think that's just the way I'm looking at things. And, I think you guys do an amazing job, but I also think that it's time to move on, in my opinion. The other question I had, I don't know, you kind of somewhat touched upon very briefly, and that's something that has been, I've been a stickler about this whole budget hearings, and I'm sure you probably have heard about me talking about this whole thing with Zoom, and how two boards, actually three boards, CPC, Conservation Commission, and the Historical Commission, are still meeting via Zoom. I know are you the person in charge of appointing these folks to these boards?
I'm in charge of appointing them, and then they get confirmed by the City Council with regard to two of them, Historic and the Conservation Commission. The CPC, that's the City Council, appoints them by themselves.
Okay. Now, today we heard from a member of the Historical stating that they're not going to meet in person because of the room where they used to meet doesn't have enough air circulation. Therefore, they're going to stay with Zoom. And we're here, and I was wondering, because, and I said, well, you can wear your mask all day long if you want. But so is there because I prefer these meetings to happen in person. I'm a big believer of that, and I believe you probably are too, and most of us are here because it's just of what happens when you're having these meetings in person. I think is a lot more valuable than being on a screen. So could there be any sort of way for the Historical Commission to meet in person, perhaps find them another room where there's plenty of air? I mean, I don't know what the situation is there.
So they have a certain time that they meet. So the big room at Government Center is available, but when it's a conflict, so they have to make sure that they schedule their meetings when that room is available. Now, one of the members asked me when Elks comes, that's a big space that we could have, for the room. We were over at Government Center, but what I believe is the health, I'm not going to minimize the health concern, but they can wear the mask. But I also believe that if they have to then schedule, their meetings when they can have the big room. So a lot of people, it's just like the council, graciously gave the big room to Concom, CPC, and I don't think Historic came here. But so I think that's a matter of scheduling. So if, for example, the library has rooms, South Junior has rooms, but they also need to have access to the cable access. But I believe that, if they try a little bit, that they could get the main room at Government Center, because that's managed by the building department, so they would know. And I think their meetings are on Monday night, I think. On Monday night, so they can't use this one naturally, but there's Government Center, big room, the auditorium, then there's also South Junior. Those are big rooms, so they may have to go to a different location, and they may have to make sure that it can be taped, with the cable and everything like that. But the two main rooms are Government Center and here. So naturally, Monday night, council is here, so they can't do that one. So I just feel that they can try to call their meetings at a time, and, you know, that would allow them to accommodate the big room.
I agree.
But the law is quite clear, you know, and I'm going to say, I said to the lieutenant governor when they signed it on a Saturday, you didn't even ask any of the elected officials. They just renewed it because what they heard was they liked the split. They liked the fact that you have the flexibility to have some Zoom meetings and stuff like that. But I don't think they really thought that Zoom meetings would not be a split. You know, sometimes some people could stay home and some people would come in. I don't think they envision, and that's this, you know, I mean, and I respect everybody's opinion, I really do, but to me, if everybody can stay home, then when does the public come in? So when other people say it's very convenient because we can go on, yes, but it should provide for a hybrid. And I know for a fact that they were talking about a hybrid so that it wasn't all in person or all remote. It was that as long as they convened a majority in public session, then other people could consider to be remote. But the majority was in person. So, but they didn't pass the hybrid. So I think, honestly, I've mentioned to the reps, I mentioned at Government Center, as a matter of fact, that day, that, you know, when that comes up again, I think you need to have a little more outreach because not necessarily one size fits all. Mm-hmm. And we thought all along in the mass mayors that they were going to go with a hybrid. But the original law had to have the chief executive at least agree to the remote. The new law, the role of the chief executive is extant, so there's no role whatsoever. But I feel that people's business should be done in public, and quite frankly, there's something to having meetings in public that I concur with, but I have to respect because that's the law. And, you know, they went directly to the law department, and I said, you have a right to do that. And law department did opine that they have a right to do remote. Mm-hmm. So, but that's based upon the extension that the state did a year ago.
And when does this extension expire?
It's 2 years, 2025, yeah.
So at this point, there's nothing we can do about it. They can remain remote. Well,
no, quite frankly, if their reason is for the remoteness that they need a room, then I would suggest to them, and I think you councils have, the councils have brought up to them that, you know, how the feelings are, you know. I feel that then find out the time that room is available so that it's all open. You know, council went over there and used the city council, went over and used the government center. So I feel that if they didn't have that option for the big room here or at South Junior, 510 Moody Street, those are two big, enormous spaces. And so if that's the reason why, then I will respectfully ask them to explore that.
Okay.
And then if they can't explore that, but I really feel that it's better in person.
I agree with you.
And if for some reason someone couldn't make it, they were either, you know, before they had to say, I'm going to be traveling, I want to participate in the meeting, will you allow it? That was done at that time, but it was never everybody remote under the prior law. It was never. And COVID has been declared over, even though people have a right to be safe and make sure we're all safe, but they don't have any requirement anymore that we do the COVID restrictions, except for this.
All right. Yeah, so that was something that came up. It came up last week when we talked to the Conservation Commission. They also do a remote. And their, from my understanding was from their perspective, was more about the easier for the board members to be part of it and for the engineers to attend in an easier schedule, which at the end of the day, really, you know, engineers they can show up anytime they want and they've got to present in front of a board. And I think it says a lot about you being in front of a board, presenting your case rather than being on the phone. on a cell phone or a laptop via camera, because there's a lot more that happens when it comes to a in-person meeting. And I think people are forgetting that, and that's part of society. That's how we operate. That's just how local governments operate. Things happen in person. So I guess that was my question. I mean, I guess we just have to, hopefully the Historical Commission will start looking into that. And
I will ask them to explore 2 venues. Based upon their concern stated to you.
Yes.
They did state to me, 2 of the members, when we were at a retirement party, could we use the Elks? That's a much bigger room, but I'm coming in with a recommendation for you for the Elks.
Okay.
And it wasn't for public meetings, in fairness, I think. The building.
Again, that will apply also
to... I do believe there are 2 available. There's also Prospect Hill Lodge available, whether they would have to have remote cameras. It wouldn't be live, but most of the meetings aren't live anyway.
Okay.
But so they have 314 Totten Pond Road available. They have 510 and 119 School. So those, I think, are available, which are a larger venue. And naturally, they could go to the school department and ask for a gymnasium. So if it's just the fact that it's the size of the room, I can suggest several things, and I would be happy to do that.